Remember Saturday, May 4th, 1996? I do. It's the day I graduated college with my Bachelor of Arts degree in classical guitar. I was a young musician with big dreams and a big future. That future lasted 1 week.
Welcome, everyone. This is Lisa Quattrini, and thank you for tuning into my show, LQ Unscripted. We have a very cool show for you today. I'm not going to give away all the props because we have Mike Straubaugh on the line, who's going to talk about a lot of different things that are super exciting. He was actually featured on TED Talk, which I'm going to put into the video, which is super cool. So without taking away your thunder, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so, excuse me. Well, we are going to talk a little bit about my TED Talk, but just as it relates to my entire life story, if you will, because my entire life story is, well, my relationship with a genetic disease called Common Variable Immunodeficiency, which when you got a genetic disease, I mean, it kind of runs your life, but how it affects my life, or it certainly affected my life before it got diagnosed, because in my pre-diagnosis years, I was an aspiring, gifted, multi-talented musician, guitar player, and that was stolen from me along with everything else for about 11, 12 years. And then I got diagnosed, and the story kind of takes off after that. That's when I went back to grad school and kind of pursued my second life, so to speak, and I got it all back.
I think that's pretty cool. And we're going to talk today about how music saved your life. But for those who don't know what the disease is, can tell us a little bit about that so we can lay some context into how you overcame that through music.
Sure. So, well, first, I didn't overcome it through music. I'll be the first to admit that. Like, that would be a great part of a Hollywood story, but that's not what did it. Common Variable Immunodeficiency. The name is somewhat misleading because it's not common at all. It's 1 in 50,000 people. They've got it roughly. And essentially, I mean, I could get on Google or, WebMD and read a nice long medical description, but that's not going to mean anything. So basically, it's like the second somebody with my disease, the second we're born, like, we're pretty normal, at that point when you're born, but from the second you're born, the clock is ticking, and my immune system, it's kind of like it had early onset dementia. So as time goes by, the immune system slowly, it's like almost imperceptibly, it forgets how to fight stuff, not just externally, viruses and bacteria, but also internally as well. And so, when, kids have ear infections and sinus infections and stuff, it's just kind of part of being a kid. And I certainly had all that, but mine never really went away. And so nothing crazy for the first 20-ish years or so, but as soon as you get about 20 years old, your immune system is depleted enough to where really weird, really heavy stuff can start to happen. And sure enough, I mean, the timing is pretty ironic in that, in fact, like, I start my TED Talk this way. In 1996, May 4th, 1996, it was a Saturday. That's when I graduated with my bachelor's degree in classical guitar. So I was 24 years old, and I had started playing as a kid. Music saved my life. So it wasn't just guitar wasn't just a thing that I found. It's like, it's pretty cool. I was an abandoned teenager, and I had nobody. And so I heard Metallica in 1987. That was it. I got that guitar right there and never put it down. And so it became my life. And so I was all in, went to college for it, went to Berklee College of Music for a year. I did the whole thing, graduated with my BA on May 4th, 1996. And 1 week later, May 11th, 1996 was the first of 7, I call them Widowmaker events. It was the first one that tried to do me in, and that was hemolytic anemia. It's where your body's wiping out all your red blood cells. So there would be 7 of those, a couple pneumonias, sepsis, hemolytic anemia, infected lymph nodes, and viral encephalitis, that's a great story. But over 11, 12 years, I would do 7 of those and hundreds of respiratory infections. So to kind of wrap this whole thing up there, common variable immunodeficiency, as it gets worse and worse, your body's just susceptible to more and more stuff. It's like the bouncer at the bar. He starts taking more and more days off, and anything can come in. So it's not, you don't just get sick more often. It's like the common cold. I always explain it like this: the common cold, it's trying to kill you. It is. It's just that your body fights off 90% of it before you even know you got a sniffle. And then, you got a cold for 2 weeks. It's a bummer and it kind of sucks. But when nothing's fighting it, it doesn't go away and it'll turn into pneumonia and it'll kill you. So
Yeah.
that's what people with my disease, we start to experience more and more of that. Yep. And it gets
So,
worse and worse and worse.
so how are you doing now?
Thanks for asking. Every month, and in fact, sitting in the other room here, I get a delivery on my doorstep in a little white cardboard box, and it's IVIG, which stands for intravenous immunoglobulin. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it might as well just be magic. It's magic, and it's an immune system in a box, and I get it every 4 weeks. And I've been doing that since March of 2007. Let's talk about some rock and roll. I could talk about it all day. So, I grew up, I'm 52, which means, I was born in 71. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And I'm a military fan. I'm, the youngest kid in the military family. My parents were not the cool California people listening to like Jefferson Airplane or whatever. They're from the Midwest. And so that means a lot of, well, Kenny Rogers, Anne Murray, Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow, which I listen to him now and my nostalgia kicks in and I'm like, that was cool. But it wasn't like music that was inspiring me at all. Luckily, Mom did listen to the Beatles. His taste in music just sucked. But Mom listened to the Beatles at least, but still it didn't make me want to do music. I just liked it. And then, got into the 80s, I started to hear maybe some Motley Crue, maybe some Rat, whatever on the radio, but it still didn't hit me. It didn't make me go, damn, I want to do that. And then I even heard some heavier stuff. Nothing affected me though. And when you're a kid, you're trying to find your identity, right? And so during the 80s, a big part of that was you listen to a kind of music, you wear the gear. I still got my 80s, my jean jacket. And you become part of a thing. And I was trying so hard to fit in somewhere. I was a shy, quiet, introverted kid. And, I was just trying to find my way. And then, like, it's one of those things, such a clear memory. It was 10th grade English class, and it's a musical show and tell day. Like, it's an English class, but it was musical show and tell. And here, just a kid sitting here, you're listening to music, and his name was Brian Sanders, don't remember. He pulls out a white cassette tape, puts it in a boom box, and he presses play. And what comes out is the first song on side B of Master of Puppets. It's Disposable Heroes on Master of Puppets. And I heard that, and it just instantly, all the not hate or anything, but like the anger, because again, I was a kid whose parents had left him and nobody was taking care of me. And I didn't have the words for it at the time. I didn't know I was an abandoned teenager, but what came out of that radio, I was like, this is exactly how I feel about everything right now. And it just instantly, it just funneled right into me. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I got to do that. Bought that guitar as soon as I could and took off. So even though I do have 3 master's degrees in music, which I do, and I'm taught college and I love classical and jazz and all the world musics at heart, I'm an 80s thrash kid. That's Metallica, Megadeth, Testament, all of them. Yep.
You're part of the metal thrasher club.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. It hits me like nothing else. If I'm in my car today, like I love listening to Beethoven, but if I'm in the car, I'm probably listening to first and second generation thrash. All the San Francisco stuff, that's where my heart is. Yep.
I totally agree. How did you even find that guitar?
What a great story this is. So, okay, you mean that guitar right there?
Yeah, I love it.
So, yeah, I love it. So, I'm from Colorado Springs, right? And in the 80s, like there was no internet, so it's the middle of nowhere. Nobody knew about Colorado in the 80s, but that's where my dad was stationed. And that's where I, heard Metallica and everything. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Got to do it. Started buying all the magazines. Started buying all the, the metal magazines, and, you couldn't just turn on MTV. Well, you could, but Metallica wasn't on there yet. So I start finding out more and more about Metallica. And as an 80s kid, like if you look at James Hetfield in the 80s, like he was just a metal god. Like he was just, he was like a Viking. I just wanted to be just like him. So that's why I got that guitar, because it was shaped like his Gibson Explorer. It's like he made that shape, in my opinion. He made that guitar shape iconic. But again, no internet, so I just go to the local music store and just see what they got. And that beautiful thing was hanging on the wall. I wanted a white one just because it was like Hetfield's. And so I saw that. I was like, oh, I wish it was white, which is funny because now I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's the most 80s guitar in the world. So I bought that at a little shop called Citadel Music in the Citadel Mall in Colorado Springs.
That's a great story. So we'll do a little game show here. So what are your 5 top bands
Of all time?
of all time?
Here's where the music snob's going to come in. You mean like my favorite bands or top bands? Because my favorite bands might not be top bands, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's all subjective. So let's go with your top favorite.
Metallica is number 1. After that, like it can go up and down just upon my mood. Slipknot probably.
Okay.
Opeth. Opeth for sure. Slipknot, Metallica, Opeth, Testament. I don't want to take all this time, but my God, it's hard.
It is hard. I know when people ask me that question, it's like, how do you take that? All right, let's talk about
Dream Theater. Dream Theater.
Okay.
There we go.
All good picks. So, what about shows? You got any upcoming shows you're going to?
No, unfortunately, unless it's outside, I won't go to concerts anymore, and it's a bummer. I don't actually mention this in my TED Talk just because you only have 18 minutes, but in fact, I don't even mention it at all in the TED Talk. So my immunodeficiency, it is what it is, and I've got some respiratory issues because of it. But also, the one time my treatment was delayed by 10 days, it was 10 days. It was delayed, and I had just come back from Europe, and I had some junk in my lungs. And it sat in there, and I got a lung disease. It's pretty gross. Like, it shouldn't get any worse as long as I don't do anything stupid. There's just a little bit in my lungs right here. It's called bronchiectasis. It's just a space in my lungs right there where it's permanently kind of agitated. It's kind of like permanent bronchitis. Mornings are pretty gross. I cough up a lot of junk, but it shouldn't get worse. But that being said, that happened in June of 2019, right before COVID hit. And so in a COVID world where it's never going to go away, if I get COVID, I'm not saying it'll kill me, but
yeah, you have to be careful.
So, yeah,
well, I just got tickets for the Black Crows.
Oh, see, that would be so good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Because, yeah, like where at? Where is it?
It is in.
Is it a really cool venue or?
It is a pretty cool venue. It's in Dallas, and it's Toyota's relatively new venue. It's not overly large, so seating is really great. Sound system's awesome, so it should be a pretty good show.
Good on you. I like a show that's not too big. Yeah, when I was a kid, I loved the arena thing, absolutely. But I'd kind of rather just, again, I'm 52. I want to sit down and just listen to the band. If the place is kind of small, it's just that much better because everybody can see. It's more intimate. I love a smaller show. So that show's going to be great. They're a great band anyway. You got brothers in the band. I assume they're both. Is it like the original lineup or?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check that out.
Because the Robinson brother, because the Robinson brothers, I think the singer and the guitar player, anytime you've got siblings in a band, I think it's always just magic.
Oh,
and they just play off each other so well. Yeah, so that should be a great show. That'll be really good. Good for you.
I know that's gonna be cool. I hope I can get some film on that one. All right, well let's circle it back to you. So what do you want people to know with your story?
What do I want them to know? A big part of it, honestly, Lisa, is just to know about me. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I did spend a lot, with my disease and my childhood and just with what that kind of childhood and this disease kind of how it affects you as a human being, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, if you will. It's really easy to feel invisible. because the disease doesn't care. You lose your identity in it. Like it was medical hell. It really was. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it was almost 12 years. So you disappear. You become the disease. You're powerless. You're invisible. You're living inside this prison. It's dehumanizing. It truly is, like, because it strips you of your humanity. And then being a child and forgotten. I've done some therapy. Everybody should. Found out I was horribly codependent. So you just lose yourself constantly.
Yeah.
And so you feel invisible your whole life. And so part of it is just want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be acknowledged just as a human. But then beyond that, as a human being who discovers resiliency, strength. Like when you're going through it, you don't know it. Like I didn't feel strong. You feel anything but strong. You feel so abused and victimized, when disease is having its way with you. And you only find out after the fact when other people start saying things like, man, you're so strong, you're so resilient. And you look at it objectively and you think, I'll be damned. I guess maybe I am. So I want, if anything, people to, I hope you appreciate when I say this. I almost want people to go through something that they have to endure.
Mm-hmm.
Not kill you, obviously, but like people should have to endure something to where it makes you appreciate it. It gives you a different perspective that you can't have if nothing happens to you. Like I look at my story and I think, man, this is a bum rap. This sucks. But there's a million people with a million different stories. I look at Holocaust survivors. I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to do that. So I look at that and I think, damn, I don't know how I would do that. How would people do this? What's cancer like? What's this like? I've got my own thing. It lasted for 12 years. But I want people to look at that, to take away, I don't know, inspiration,
You're stronger than you think you are.
Surviving. Grant, I'm human. I get pissy about little stuff every once, because I'm human. I'm in the moment. Something mildly annoying happens and I go, man, that sucks. And then it doesn't take me long to think, well, yeah, my taxes are higher than I thought they were going to be, but I still woke up this morning and I'm not legitimately concerned that today might be the day or tomorrow might be the day where I don't wake up. Like, I don't have to worry about that. Like, it's going to happen someday, but it's not staring me in the face. So little things like that. Again, I'm human, but I have a lot of reminders that make me laugh at myself and appreciate it. And it is so cliche to say this stuff, and you're right. One, cliches exist for a reason, but two, I'm also aware of the fact that in so many ways, like, it's hard to learn lessons from other people. It just is. Like, if you sit down, like if a teenager sat down with a Holocaust survivor and this Holocaust survivor shares this lifetime of wisdom, how much can we expect a teenager or anybody who hasn't endured something like that, not just a teenager? You can only learn so much from that. And so you hope to steer them and you hope to open their eyes and open their mind a little bit. But, and that's kind of why I said this, it's like sometimes you got to go through something. And we all will eventually, but if you don't, you're kind of missing out on life. If we stay safe and inside and nothing ever happens to us, you kind of go through life on your dimmer switch, so to speak. I really think that. I've been doing it almost 30 years. I mean, I started playing in the 80s, but as soon as I graduated with my BA in 1996, I started teaching right away, at a local music store. And I never stopped. Even in the midst of my disease, I would teach like little kids. I couldn't play. I would sit there with a lap and I might do some shapes with my hand like this. But if I played at all, I would get chronic crippling tendonitis and it would not go away for like 6 months. So I just wasn't a player anymore. I taught people how to do it, but I couldn't do it. That in and of itself sucked and it hurt, but at least I was still connected to music. So I never stopped. But after I got diagnosed and went to grad school for 5 years, I just started full-time teaching again. So I've been doing it almost 30 years. And, especially since 2013, which is when I finished all my master's degrees, it's at a pretty high level. So it's a pretty exclusive roster. And I'm a college professor as well. I was recruited by a small college in Denver. So my resume is pretty good. But I love it. I love teaching, not just because it's a gig, certainly, or because I got bills. It's because I look at what music meant to me before it was taken away. I remember what music meant to me during those 10 years when it was gone. For me, it was my child. I never had children. Music was my child. And so it was like losing a child. It really was. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
But then to get it back, and it came back to me, so I get to share it, not just for me, because I'm not selfish with my music. Like when I'm done for the day, I close the curtains and I play and I just disappear with my guitar. But I also, to make money, they let me teach people my favorite thing, and I get to geek out over all the music stuff, not just guitar. Guitar is my favorite thing, but it's an instrument. Hemingway's instrument was a typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
But Hemingway was not a typewriter player. He was Ernest Hemingway. With the guitar, I'm not just a guitar player. I'm a musician who plays guitar, and that's my philosophy when I teach. And unfortunately, in the guitar world these days, with the internet especially, it's very gimmicky. It's very snake oil, salesman-y, learn all these tricks and tips and hacks, and it's not what it's about. So that's the hill that I fight for. I stand on that hill and I'm like, if you want to learn music and you want to do it the rest of your life and you want it to affect you the way it did me, learn all of it. Learn all the music stuff. You will care. You'll invest yourself. You'll commit the time and the energy. You'll solve problems and be challenged. You won't fall for gimmicks and courses. So that's what I do at Strasbourg Guitar and Music Academy. It's official because I have a shirt. It's the website's still being worked on, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going from one-on-one, which is, I love teaching one-on-one, but it makes more sense to take advantage of the internet and teach through my school, where I have 3 different classes that I teach, but I kind of teach them all. I approach them all with that mentality that I just said. And that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Would I do it again? No. But I also, like I say in my TED Talk, I kind of wouldn't change anything because I am still here. Knock on wood. I mean, apart from my treatments that I do and my stuff with my lungs, I got all my fingers. I got one ear that works. My left ear doesn't work anymore. I'm doing okay. So I look at it at 52 and I think, man, I got a chance to live a life that I don't know anybody else who's had a life like mine. I did a lot with it after I got diagnosed. And I hope you understand this when I say, I think you will, but I look at myself just objectively and I think it's pretty cool because I'm my own hero, damn it. And I'm okay saying that because if I had read my story, I would have thought that guy's really cool. And I admire him. And so it gets to be me. And so I feel good about that.
I think that's the best statement of the show.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. Okay, folks. Well, it's going to be a wrap for us, but thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be publishing this and I will contact you once it's all ready, Mike.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Okay. You have a blessed day.
On May 11th, I found myself in the emergency room, clinging to life and calling my parents to say goodbye. I'd gone to the ER that day, really weak and really jaundiced, and after 12 hours of blood tests and questions and probes, oh my, and unsettlingly calm doctors telling me that I can't find my red blood cells anywhere. So they're going to get me a nice comfy bed and keep snooping around for a while. He didn't say it cool and fun like I just did, though, and in fact, we agreed that it would be a good idea to call my parents and say goodbye. Sooner is better than later.